So, Erev Tov, everybody. Good evening. It's really great to see so many of you here. And if you just look this way, we have a full house. So it's great. And we have people on Zoom as well. There are two parts to my introduction. One is Omer and one is Yuval. So the name Omer should be familiar to all of you if you were here on the October 7th commemoration. Because after Ira Kohler spoke, he talked about his buddy from Long Island who grew up together going to Schechter School, and he asked us to pray for him. Just yesterday, my wife and I went into the city, as we've done probably 10 times, for a rally in Central Park. We heard Omer's parents speaking and asking us to keep fighting to get their son released. Then we woke up this morning and heard of the news that he was killed last October 7th. It was an email that I got from Rabbi Mark Cohen from New Milford, who's in Israel now visiting his stepdaughter. That was 6 a.m. today. I tried to put myself in Omer's parents' shoes. I can't do it. Just imagine for a moment fighting, traveling the world, thinking that your son was alive for 14 months. All of our hearts ache. He went to a Schechter school on Long Island, as I did, as all of our children do, and now one of our grandchildren. Lives very familiar to all of us. He's now gone forever. I hope that Prime Minister Netanyahu, President Biden, and all involved try to get the hostages released as soon as possible. One of my colleagues wrote the phrase today, "The living belong in the arms of their families. The dead deserve a proper burial." May the memory of Omer Nutra be for a blessing. And yet, as Jews, we learn to move on from tragic adversity, anger, upsetness, depression, and try to move forward. So I'm really proud that tonight we have this event, and that this event is part of a new series from Federation of Israel-focused events periodically during the year. This is in partnership with our area synagogues. So if you looked at the marketing piece, you saw the logos of our synagogues, and we're trying to reach out to them as much as possible. And I start out with a hakarat hatov, a good shout out to people who really don't like what I'm going to do right now, but deserve the recognition and respect that they have from all of us. First is Stephen Reps, who's sitting back there, and out of all these people, he probably wants this the least. But he's making all this happen, audio, visual, and Zoom, etc. So, toda rabah, thank you, Stephen. And I joked around with somebody recently, like today, that for the first 2 months I was working here, I thought Stephen was a Federation employee because he just did so much for all of us. A Federation employee who also deserves a hakarat hatov for making this happen is Kathy Conti, who is sitting in the back. To Dan Goodman, who maybe my second or third week here came up to me, I knew nobody, and said, "Oh, would you be on the IAC? And would you come to Friday meetings, Zoom meetings?" And I said, "I'm really new. I don't know what I can be on. And Fridays I don't really work, but can we work together without me being on the committee?" But Dan was one of the matchmakers for bringing Yuval here. So, toda rabah, thank you. And then to Rabbi Polakov, who I understand many years ago when you went on a synagogue trip, you connected with Yuval. And then Sherry Kipperman, I'm not wearing my glasses, I don't know where, okay. Sherry was one of the people who came to meet with me first month I was working here, and that was great because I really did not know anybody. And she sits down in my office and tells me this incredible, inspiring, heartwarming, story about her daughter making Aliyah during the war. That's incredible. That story still hits me right here. And in the same conversation, told me about Yuval. And Yuval, you have a real family, fans in the Kipperman family. So a hakarat hatov, a shout out to you too, Sherry. So it's my pleasure and honor to introduce you to the reason you are all here, and that is to hear from, learn from, dare say maybe be inspired by Yuval's presentation. So Yuval is an Israeli who no longer needs to serve as a reservist, but volunteers as a reservist. He's a dad, 3 kids still at home. He's a tour guide, he's an educator, and it's a pleasure to have you here, Yuval. We went out for dinner just a little while ago. Getting to know you a little better was really a pleasure, a real zchut, a real privilege for me. So when we discussed what Yuval should present, I said, this isn't your average kind of crowd. People know a lot about Israel, are connected in all kinds of ways. In fact, I said, we need to have the songs in Hebrew, and we went back and forth, are there people who will be able to read the Hebrew? And the answer is yes. And if you go out to the table, I think we gave out all the copies that we had in Hebrew. So there'll be Hebrew and English in Yuval's presentation. And learning about the music that has been written in the last 14 months, we thought was an incredibly instructive way to get into the psyche of Israelis today. Yuval will speak for a while, slides, music, etc. At the end, there'll be time for Q&A. Feel free to ask anything you want, right? We're all kind of family here. You can ask a controversial question. You can just let your mind out a little bit. Yuval's a big boy, and he reminded me 2 times in my conversation with him, he's Israeli. So he's tough, and he could be challenged by anybody here as well. And then afterwards, we'll go next door for a little nosh. So without further ado, Yuval, b'vakasha.
How is that working? We're good? Yes. Awesome. Erev Tov, good evening, everyone. And thank you for coming. I'm excited for our mutual therapy session of the evening with music and talking and being friends and being together. And it's very exciting. And thank you, Rabbi Paul. Thank you for everything and for the connection and to bring me here. And to all my friends here for a while now. And one of the things that I feel more strongly about since the beginning of the war, I always felt strongly about it, is that long, deeper connections are something that is healing. And it's something that we need. I need. And I feel like this is one of the most important things that we have. So that's one of my missions for the other half of my life, to keep people with good vibes around me and develop deeper relationship. So I come to you as an Israeli, just an Israeli. I'm not evacuated. I'm just telling my story. I live normal life. My life is much more normal than you'd imagine. Looking at the news, my kids ride their bikes to the nearby town and they go to the mall. And my little guy, 12 years old, goes surf summer and winter. And they go to the mall and buy them some ice cream. And if there's a siren, then they go with their ice cream to the safe room at the mall. And when the siren is gone, they go out with everyone. And that's their life. My 15-year-old son told me just before I came, he was in his room playing his Xbox, screaming, making a lot of noise. I don't know if you've ever witnessed that phenomena. And he came out of the room. He says it was very scary because there was a big fish. It was a big fish chasing him in the game. And he says it's much more scary than a siren that comes. Like a siren, you go to the room. I always chocolates in my safe room at home. So we go to the safe room. It's a positive experience. We open the drawer of the nashes and we make fun. but a big fish chasing him was a reason for him to scare. So life, we get used to things, and life becomes much, much more normal. So I'm 52, I have 3 boys. I live in Bet Yoshua. It's a moshav right outside of Netanya, north of Tel Aviv. It was established as a kibbutz by my grandparents in the 1930s. Swamps and attacks by Arabs around. And today it's just a beautiful real estate that I would not be able to afford without my grandparents outside of Tel Aviv. I've spent until the age of 40 I was a soldier like an Israeli for 3 years, and I traveled the world, and I came back, I did the Israeli thing, and I stayed in reserve as a combat soldier until I was 40 and I was released. And 10 years later, after I thought I'm done, I found myself back in the army. After October 7th, I was asked to join to protect my community. And 3 months ago, I decided I'm joining. I spent a lot of my time volunteering in the Gaza envelope area. So I decided I was just going to go there and live there as they are looking for reservists. There's not enough people to join the reserves in Israel to fill all the things that we need to do. So an Altekake, soldiers like me, would not send into Gaza anymore, but I live in one of the kibbutzes of the Otef. Actually, Dan came and visited me and had the honor to join the gardening team at the kibbutz for a few hours. So this is what I do. I help secure the kibbutz and make them feel safe and guard there at night. And I also live there, so I volunteer also helping soldiers coming in into Gaza. Tourism is not at its peak in the last year, so I have plenty of time. So this is what I do now is part of what I do. I actually come to talk to people, part of my profession. That's it. Enough about me. I want to show you a little bit of my story in the last year. So we have it working. So in the last year, I've done a lot of things around Gaza. You have the first one? Yes. So this is from the last few months. This is inside Gaza. Actually, the perimeter around Gaza is clean of Palestinian homes, and there's army bases and a lot of dust where the tanks and the bulldozers drive around. So that's one of the posts. That's my 12-year-old who I take often from school to come and volunteer in the kibbutz. I feel it's so important for their education that they'll come and volunteer and remember that time as something that they participated in. So he comes and volunteers on a regular basis at the kindergarten at the kibbutz. And he loved the little babies and they love him. That's Sukkot at the gate of the kibbutz. And this little baby is one of the babies of the kibbutz. He's the grandson of the guy who was in charge of the security of the kibbutz in October 7th, who actually was in a fire with 2 pickup trucks of Hamas and stopped them at the gate of the kibbutz. He got injured. His car was shot about 43 times. He's alive, and he's going around with his grandchild. So he come and visit me at the gate. That's what he's doing. This is his therapy. He's doing gardening, and he's going around with his grandchild the whole afternoon. I've hardly ever seen the parents with the grandchild. Yes, I'm sure. This is the time of the war before I joined reserves. All kinds of things I've done. I'm working in farming, taking soldiers who were wounded from hospitals to watch games. I brought toys to families around Gaza, to orphanage kids who lost their parents, food, etc. The country was run from the bottom up. It's quite an amazing time with all the hardship and how horrible some of the events are happening. It's such an empowering experience to live through what's happening in Israel in the last year. The country was run from the bottom up. In WhatsApp groups that had thousands of people, some have requests and some will answer the request. I would wake up in the morning in the first few months of the war, and I'll open my WhatsApp groups and I will choose a mission. So someone is looking for this and someone else says, okay, I'm on it. Done. And that's how the country was run. Slowly became organizations that kind of grew up. The government still is not taking over everything that the government is taking. I know that a lot of people were involved in sending bulletproof vests and helmets and stuff that you don't suppose to take care of soldiers in a country. That's the government role, but we had to survive first and then ask questions about why did it not go right later? And that's the answer to a lot of questions of how come we work so well together and all these disagreements are still happening? Because we have to survive first, and then we'll argue about whatever we disagree on, and we have plenty. We're going to go through, if you'll stay later, I'm happy to stay later and talk about updates about Gaza. We're going to just zoom through these. Okay, 2 slogans. You might know this one, okay? Bring them home now. You see these all around Tel Aviv and in the liberal world, in the more right-wing, traditional, in Jerusalem, for example, in Israel, you'll find this one. We don't stop until we win. Only military pressure would bring the hostages back. 2 opposite conclusions to the same value. Okay, we can talk about it later. Let's run through it. Lebanon, we can talk about it. You guys are following the news. I'm happy to go. Let's just run through the slides. The Israeli politics for later. Later, how our polls are doing. Why do we love Trump so much? We'll talk about later. I know it's going to be very controversial. Let's move on. Global or local conflict. Again, around the table if you want with coffee and cookies. Hezbollah, Iran, everything's going on. Abraham Accord. I wanted to end with some optimism for after, but I just want to make sure that you guys all know that Israelis live 4 years longer than Americans. Israelis live 4 years longer than Americans. So with all the news that you hear, any moment that you would spend in Israel now, you're increasing your chance to survive longer. That's a fact. No, that was not a joke. You were laughing in the wrong time. It's not a joke. That's a fact. Okay? Psychology separate from risk. Israel is a safer place than staying at home. Okay? And it's the right time to come. Yes, it's my hidden agenda to convince you to come. We're also happier. And let's go to the next. This is the Nova Festival site in the last winter, and it will look like that again in a couple of months. Kalaniot, very good. Okay, we're done. Let's go to the songs. I want to talk about the amazing creativeness and the need for healing and for expression that happened in this war, like it happens in any war. There's over 50 songs that were written, Israeli original songs that were written in the last year of the war. And these songs are, some of them are hard to listen to. Wait, not yet. Hard to listen to. There are songs that were written by young people. I'm going to show you most of the songs that you're going to see are hits. There's no like minor things. It's shocking. The first one you're going to see is quite harsh. And what triggered me to start this program was that my 12-year-old son, before Shabbat, we're cooking, we're cleaning together. I'm divorced, 3 boys. We clean the house, we do the garden, we cook together, we sit for Shabbat, and they put the music. And my 12-year-old son was playing his music before Shabbat, and he's playing the song that you're going to hear now. And I never listened to the words, because that's their music. I suffer through it because that's their right to put their music. But he's singing all the words. It goes fast. It's rap. It goes fast, quick. And the words suddenly came into my conscience, and I stopped him. He says, "What is this song that you know by heart?" And I was shocked. Now you have translation which is not 100% in English. It gives you the spirit. If you read the Hebrew, great. I'll do some of spontaneous translation through. But you have the words. It's not all by order of what you have. I'm starting with Noam Song 2. Maor Ashkenazi and Noam Cohen, 2 friends who make music. Maor wrote a song about his friend Noam before the war. It was called Noam's Song. Noam was in the Nova Festival. You're going to see them in the clip. And he's one of the few survivors who survived the safe rooms that are all along the road. When there were shells, they ran into the safe rooms along the road. The safe rooms are open. They don't have a door. They're not meant to protect from terrorists. They're meant to protect from shells. And he was at the back. So he survived when over 20 people did not, because he was covered with bodies of people who sheltered him. I tell people that my grandmother is a Holocaust survivor. Since these events, I imagine the Holocaust in colors. I'm not making it as a phrase. I'm really imagining my grandmother's story in colors. It was a massacre in the same way that I'm imagining shooting Jews into pits. That's what was going on there. And the ones who survived, like Noam, have similar stories to Jews who survived similar events at the time of the Holocaust. So his testimony, he gave to his friend Maol, who came to visit him at the hospital. And they took his testimony and they made it into a rap song. It's shocking that someone would write a song like this. It's shocking that my kids and all the youth are listening to this. We're trying to filter all kinds of horrors from our kids. But after I heard that, sang by my 12-year-old, I'm not filtering them from anything anymore. It's done. And another horror is that they made a clip with actors. Okay, this is what's going on. I'm talking millions of watch. Okay, I'll also translate it as we go, because I feel that I want to talk through it. But let's play it. Starting at the Nova Festival. It's going quick. That's Noam. My body was saved, but my head is still there. Everybody want to hear my story, but I don't feel like talking about it. But if you really want to hear what I went through, I would not forget I was covered with bodies. The guy who was praying, and his blood went on my face. The smell of burned people. People screaming, the army's coming. But it was terrorists with a pickup truck. I open my eyes. I realize I'm alive. A guy dying with no leg is holding me and asking me to help him. But if I'll help him, I couldn't save myself. All my life go through my brain. You get the spirit? It goes on and on. This is his testimony of what happened to him and how he survived, and his regrets and the guilt that everybody feels. Someone dying who's holding his leg as he's coming up and asked, help me. And I thought, if I'll help him, I will never save myself. So I ran out of this. He left people dying behind and got into a car with a bullet in his leg and somehow survived. That's not a song for a 12-year-old to sing. No. But that's what's going on. That's reality. And the one thing that I feel was taken from us is the optimistic, beautiful world that we want to give to our children. Cannot be responsibly a parent, a Jew, a human being in this world, and raising my children to believe in a world that is not the way the world is. And it's painful because it's not what I wanted to have for them. But that's what it is. Look at that. The second song would be what you have is number 1 there. That one we don't need. Not using the Word document I sent you? Is the order? The second one that we're looking at is Amit Man. She was a medic in Be'eri. Nothing's gonna hurt me. Well, nothing's gonna hurt me. And the song you're gonna hear was written by another soldier, Stark, at 97. He was in Lebanon. He was fighting in Lebanon at the time. And he wrote a song for his parents, who was very concerned that something will happen to him. And he wrote a song called Nothing's Gonna Hurt Me. In the song, just a minute. In the song, he is also speaking for his father. I'll translate it for you. That song, 10 years later, was taken. His sister found a little book where he wrote a song, and next to this book, he promised nothing will happen to me. He made a little skit of a tombstone and wrote his name on it. They took the song and they gave it to a band called the Church of the Mind, Knesiat HaSechel, and they wrote the music for it. 2 months before October 7th, Amit Man, a medic and not a professional singer, but she loves to sing, recorded herself singing that song. So what you're going to see now is her singing together with the band, because the band took her singing, her video, went to the Shiva for the parents and played that song together with her in the recording. So you're going to see a combination. She was taking care of the wounded people at Be'eri when the terrorists surrounded them, and she had no choice. She went out and tried to surrender, and they shot her. That was her end. Nothing's going to hurt me, nothing. Not a woman, not a bullet of terrorists. Nothing. Because I took an oath to my brothers, my sisters, and to my parents. And I cried at nights. And I was worried in the days. Because I was afraid that something would hurt my parents. And my father's voice is echoing in my head for years. This is her text from Be'eri, the last text. Quote is his dad. If something would happen to you, there's no point for my life. There's no point for my tomorrow. There's no reason for my life. That's the Shiva, the band, with the family, the brothers, sisters, the mother. At the first time they play, the mash that they made was her singing. Her grave. If you stand here above me, I guess I didn't stand up for my promise. I'm sorry. It's a beautiful song, worth listening to. I'm not going to go through all the songs because we're not going to have time. I want to show you a lot of things. There's a lot of songs made out of the immediate horrors that happened. On November 23, a lot of songs. We could have spent the whole evening just looking at horror songs that came out of the Nova Party and everything. But I want to move on from that because the people who went to war right after, ages 18 to 30, okay, the people who are in the service and the young reservists, before they go into Gaza, they know that their friends are from the Nova Festival. Their friends, they know friends. They've lost a lot of friends from the kibbutzes and from the party. It's their age group. And these guys are about to go into Gaza. And there's a good reason why we take soldiers at the age of 18, because you got to be pumped with adrenaline and a little stupid and ready to be brave/stupid and not think too much, because if you think too much, you will not survive. So the next couple of things that you're going to see are things that I'm, again, not happy that this is what I'm showing you, but this is my Israel now. Let's play Who's Crazy? Huge hit in Israel. I don't know if you'll enjoy the music, but I want you to get the vibe. Who's Crazy? 2, 3, launch. Who's crazy? I'm crazy. This is for everyone who's in hostage. These are naming his friends. The terrorists, you're not going to know day, you're not going to have a night, you're going to be sorry for everything you've said. Everyone who went for the last dance, launch, 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 launch. IDF is coming. You're all going to be ending up on the floor. I'm not afraid of anything, and you're using your people as a human shield. Next one. Soldiers before they go into Gaza. That's the same song. It became an anthem. Next one. Haredi wedding. A rave. The words are horrible. Okay, it's revenge. It's anger. It's not what I want to raise my children to, but maybe that's the vibe that they need in order to survive when they go to Gaza. Because anybody who's looking from a window, under the ground, above ground, from the roof, is trying to kill them, and they need to go in there and come back alive. And they're angry. They're angry. What happened in the 7th of October is horrors like, I don't know if we've seen, definitely not in the Western world, I don't know how much are you exposed to what was going on there, but it's worse. It's whatever you're exposed to, it's worse. It's horrible. And we know the people. We know the people. There was atrocities that are just hard to talk about, and my kids know about those things. They know about rape, and they know about mutilation, and they know about girls nailed to the trees. It's there. It's horrible, horrible things. And these guys go to war knowing those stories. That's not how I want to raise children, but that's the world that I'm forced to live in. So that's the vibe that was at the beginning of the war. Number 4, Harbu Darbu, is another one of these. You know what? Let's keep number 4. It's the same vibe. There's a whole bunch of pumped song, adrenaline, going into a war kind of vibe. Let's go to number 5. Chain of Vibe. Hurricane. Maybe that's the one song that you've seen. In the middle of the war, Eurovision, one of the biggest music festivals in the world. You guys are not part of that. Very controversial, very liberal. Israel sent a song called October Rain, which was not approved because they say it's political. So we had to change the words. You have hurricane there, it's in English, but you have in barracks the original words, which was cancelled by the Eurovision. Eden, who sang it, was doing her rehearsals when all her stuff is yelling at her face. They're standing at her face and yelling at her and waving hands and whistling in her face. That's how she trained, because there's a lot of people in the crowd trying to prevent her from singing. It's hard to hear it, because the Eurovision kind of lowered the volume, but they're trying to cancel her, basically. She did very, very well. The countries give score, and most of the countries would not give Israel any point, although she was one of the best performances. Some countries gave us very little score, and every time Israel got any score, the crowd was whistling and booing. And then they went to the popular crowd at home, people on their apps, and we went from the bottom to the top. It was a moment of national pride. Eventually they put the scores together, and we ended up number 5. Okay, but there was a fight over legitimacy, which is another crazy, crazy fight we never thought would have to stand, fighting terrorism in this way and being blamed for being the not moral ones. If we kind of go towards the end of it, go to the end, real end, she sings another one line in Hebrew. Hear the crowd. Oh, wait, just a little bit back. Just a little back. Do you hear the crowd? She did amazing. So that was in the middle of the war, a crazy moment, trying to fight for international legitimacy. A lot of anti-Semitism. Superheroes. Number 6. We're going now to musics that are a little easier to listen to. Superheroes. This is Hatikva Shesh, the Hope 6 band. Everyone is a superhero. The kindergarten teacher, the bus drivers, the banker, everybody's in Gaza, everybody's here, everybody leaves their jobs and go to the army. A guy who owns a shop, a toy shop. We're all regular people, but we're superheroes. We all look normal, but we're a people of superheroes. In each one of us, there's a soldier that is ready to protect the world. It is a crazy thing.
We all have to fight to get here.
It's a crazy thing that we are normal people and then we're soldiers. I'm here talking to you and in 4 days I'm back by Gaza. I'm a normal person. I'm not doing any, it's surreal that we are, but we are living in such a wide spectrum of emotions, and it's very vibrant and it's very humbling, and it feels real. It feels very real, and I find that a lot of people, including myself, are much more appreciative of the life that we have, with everything that is happening. I find that the life that I have are so beautiful. Maybe because I was exposed that it could be so much worse. That I'm in such appreciation for my life. I'm standing here with you here. Like, look at us. What a wonderful life that we have. It's my therapy to come here and be with you and stand here and talk and be with friends. And I love my life. It's hard, but it's beautiful in a way. And it's hard to explain, but I know a lot of people who feel so much deep meaning and content and connection, even more so this year. Blooming for their return. Ishai Libo, a whole album that he wrote after the war. That's a beautiful song. Blooming for their return, how the flowers bloom in order to remind us that we need to have our hostages to come back. They all bloom to remind us that they have to come back. Everything we went through, all the mistakes we made. But at the end we learned that we cannot do it alone. Everything we knew came up wrong. And how from our celebration day, we have not a moment of quiet. All the tears and the pain that came from our heart would still make the world bloom again. Beautiful song, the whole album written after the war. This one is dedicated to the hostages. You see that the songs are changing to something that is more compelling, that is looking for some comfort. It started with trauma, it goes to anger and revenge, and it's slowly moving to try and find comfort and meaning and find a new order and understand the world. The next one, coming out of depression. There's English on the screen in this one. Look at the screen, you have it. Better translation there. There'll still be good days, I promise. This is bringing back hostages from Gaza, saving them in a military operation. And in the clip they have soldiers coming back to meet their children and their wives, people gone for weeks and sometimes months. I've done 120 days, but some people did 400 days of reserves. There's an amazing unity. People go to fight, religious, not religious, left, right, poor, rich, everybody's part of it. Listen to the songs, because singers are the best doctors that the science can offer. We're still gonna have good days ahead, I promise. Looking for comfort and unity and standing together. Between the city and the orchard is a song that was written about the evacuees, 8, between the city and the orchards. For the evacuees, we still have over 60,000 citizens moving from hotel to hotel, rooms. People donate their homes to people. There's all kinds of joining a family here, no home, no school, no work. And now maybe they can go back. Maybe they can't go back. Maybe they'll go back, although it's still dangerous, but they had enough after 14 months wandering around. That's a rapper called Tuna. I don't have land, I don't have soul underneath my feet. I feel like floating in the air. There's no safe place. I'm disappointed from the world. Who loves changes? Not me. Wandering around, not me. Homeless. Between the house to the parents. Go to the orchards, on the road. Moving and moving and moving. They're moving. Some people, tenth of thousands of people still moving from a place to a place. Go to the grandparents here and go to a house there and take a weekend house there. And between the orchards and the city, they just go around with there's no home. There's no place, and the children and the workplace. And we do sometimes they do a trip for the children from the school, and they take the whole class for a trip by the Elat Mountains, but the children have not seen each other for 6 months. So they gather all of them from the class to be together in a 3-day hike in the mountains of Elat. But they've not seen their friends for months. Each one found a solution still. Coming out of depression. Oh, I showed you that one. Move on. Sorry. Tomorrow it will end. Lauren Pell and Noam Chorev. All the people you see are brothers, sisters, mothers who lost their loved ones, either kidnapped or died. starting from the Gulf War at 1990. He's going through all his life. It's my generation. 1990 Gulf War. Saddam. And my mother said, tomorrow it will be over, tomorrow it will be over. That's the wife of Roy Klein. I don't know if you heard about Roy Klein, it was his wife. We will never give up. We will never give up, ever. 94, a bus explodes. The TV talks. Our neighbor brings some sweets. And my mother says it has to end. Tomorrow it will be okay. Tomorrow will be okay. On a wall at the end of the city, stand drunk in front of everyone. There's no giving up, ever. We're never going to give up. 2006, Second Lebanese War. Looking for a parking spot. Her brother died in Gaza now. Come out. Pictures on the screen changes. The most beautiful songs in the radio. Tomorrow will be over. Yael Gabay, her brother died on the 7th of October. Natalie Hajbi, the wife. Pregnant women. These are the creators. Any Yehush, we're never going to give up, we're never going to give up. Pictures that not leave my head. Tears in my throat. My brother takes his uniform. These are our lives. Always wars. Remember soldiers, pictures of children. And we say, tomorrow will be over. Tomorrow will be over. That's our life. That's our life. I'm 52. I was 1 year old at 73, don't remember, but my dad, his brothers left. My mother's brother left Israel after 73. My father's brother left after 73. 82, I remember, Lebanon. Second Intifada, 87. I was there when Rabin was assassinated at 95. I was at the square. I was a soldier before that in Lebanon. I was in defensive shield operation at 2002. I participated in the Second Lebanese War 2006. And now again, I mean, it's just a life. It's just a life. We still live longer. Last one. Message. Moral message. Just a second. The song was written by Yuval Zelinkovsky at 2018. Yuval died in November 23 in Gaza. And he wrote in a song I'm afraid to write because those soldier who dies, they always find things that they write. Those who dies always wrote beautiful things. Says, if I'll write, I might die. Okay, I'm afraid to write because it's bad luck. There's a lot of superstitious stuff, but if I'll write, I might be one of those who die. I'm afraid. That's his song. Okay, but he writes that song, and 5 years later, he dies in Gaza. He was an officer. He was in Thailand at the time, at October 7th. Went on a plane, came back to Israel. They didn't need him in his job as an officer, so he volunteered as a combat soldier in one of the units that went into Gaza. He helped take over a Hamas post called the Palestine Post by the water in Gaza. That post today is called Yuval Post, after him. He died there. And a rapper who lives by the Gaza Strip, Jimbo J, took his words after October 7th and made it into the song. Can you keep a secret? I'm afraid that writing songs while you're in combat jobs will bring bad luck. How is it that all those who die wrote beautiful things? They're always successful poets, always heroes. How is it that all those who died leave something behind? The song was written by Jimbo J and the father of Yuval Zelinkovsky. The father is a bassist, a famous one, played in all kinds of bands. Emotional roller coaster, fear. Stop. I have a fear. We're going to continue, but just a minute. I have a fear to write a song, and I'm afraid to have the courage to be the next one in line. If you read my words that I wrote, promise me to live a life worth living. He wrote it for himself, he didn't publish it. He says, if you're reading those words, promise me, living a life worth living. I'm afraid to write because it brings bad luck. How is it that all those who die wrote? They're always brilliant poets, funny. So if you're reading this, I take a breath and I could hardly stop myself. And I take the courage and I drink my tea before it's getting cold. And I burn. The burns remind me to drink up the life. Who wants to live a lukewarm life? If you read these words, promise me you'd live a life worth living. That's Yuval Zelinkovsky. I'm afraid to write in a battle position because it brings bad luck. I'm a little afraid to write it. Okay. Promise me to live a life worth living. That's what I choose to end with. And also his words of drinking his hot tea before it's getting cold. Says, who wants to live a life lukewarm? He's burning himself, drinking it hot to feel life. And I can say I feel life. I feel life more than ever. And it's amazing. It's crazy. But it's an amazing thing. And it's happening there. It's happening here as well. You feel it. But I really want to invite you to do the crazy thing and cross the ocean and come the other side and feel what's happening in Israel now. There's not a lot of historical events at that magnitude that is happening in one's life. And it's happening now. Drink it while it's hot. It's such... people who's been will tell you, I mean, okay, you'll come and help and garden a little. But you connect and people thank you and people appreciate it and you feel part of. And if you look at the chart that I put before, that Israelis live longer and they're happier, most research would point for meaning and relationships and family and friends and belong to something as something that makes your life healthy and happy and meaningful and last longer. Don't wait for your tea to get cold. Take life, you'll benefit all across. It's good all across, and we need each other. We need each other. I'm happy I'm here with you. I'm so happy that you are here. And I'd love to see you there as well, and I'd love to come back here again. It's something that we need. Let's get ourselves more meaning and find a connection. Well, that I end. I think the music is a great therapy, and community is a great therapy. And we're going to leave some time for questions.
Sure. So,
Thank you.
I agree with you wholeheartedly about going to Israel. I am blessed that I'm able to go in January to Afula, which is our sister community. Thanks to the leadership of the Federation for enabling me to do that. There's still room on that trip, so if you want to do it, January 16th, let me know tonight. And sometime in the future, perhaps we could get a Federation trip together, though not right now. So, Toda Rabah, I think the music really speaks to all of us, and now that you have all the music in front of you, you can listen to it at your pleasure. So, any questions, comments, reactions? Or not necessarily to this, but maybe something past the music. So I'll ask the first question. We just had an election here in America. There are many Israelis who love the results of that election, and there are probably some people here who might like that too, and maybe others who might not like it. Can you react to the Israeli perspective? We can tell you what the American perspective is about our election.
If you can find my slideshow about how great Trump is. Yes. Okay. So that could be a long answer. I'm assuming I'm talking to a liberal democratic crowd mostly, and I'm asked to represent 70% of Israelis who would choose Trump. I have a slideshow with the numbers. First of all, Israel is moving right. My youth is moving right, your youth is moving left maybe. And the right wing in Israel find a lot of common with your Republicans. Can you go down to, until you find a picture with a guy with a big blonde hair, red face, somewhere there. Go down, oh, it's up, yeah. First of all, why does Israelis like Trump? Okay, I don't want to say anything good about the guy. Okay, I'm not like the guy. He's horrible. Anything you can say about the personality. Why does he enjoy? Yes. Why does he enjoy so much support? It's his first candidacy. Everybody talks about moving the embassy to Jerusalem, but he also recognized the Golan Heights as part of Israel. He cut the budget to UNRWA, which we now know is a group of terrorists. They're working for Hamas. He cut their budget before. He put Nikki Haley in the UN. We had the back of the US, the best that we've ever had. We signed 4 peace agreement with Arab countries at this time, canceled the nuclear deal, which most Israelis think it's a good thing, and took our side in a very one-sided way, which was appreciated by a lot of Israelis. One reason. Second reason, did I go over there? UNRWA canceled the deal, Ramatam. Oh, we're building a city after him. We love Trump. In the Golan Heights, we built the Trump Heights. And if I really want to annoy you, I can show you songs of admiration to Trump as the Messiah by the religious right in Israel. I wouldn't do that. That's where I draw my line. But I want to go to the deeper philosophy. What happened to Israelis in the last 20 years, and more so in the last year, is that our Western liberal Jewish values, what happened, has failed us in a way that they do not stand for our needs to survive. We want to have a beautiful world which we cannot afford to have. That's what most people think or feel. We have to survive first, and then we can build a beautiful world of democracy and values, but we cannot have it right now. So the Israeli right, which I am not part of, okay? I'm not a Bibi fan. They want to be able to overcome the democratic Western values that does not allow us to provide security for the people. I'll give you one example, but there's many. A discussion about expelling the parents and the family of terrorists. Could you punish the parents of someone who did a horrible thing in America? No, you can't. You can't do it in Israel. Can that save lives of Israelis if we will allow to do this? Yes, but the Supreme Court doesn't let it happen. So above all the discussions that we have a major conflict between our Western liberal values and our real fear for survival. And the understanding is that the liberal world does not understand that. And look at the two sides and understand the two sides, which is the Democratic Party, Harris, Biden is a real Zionist. But the attitude is look at both sides and find a way to compromise and be on the defense. Get away from the conflict. And when the other side is not afraid from conflict, and you are afraid for your lifestyle is holy, and life is holy, and conflict is something we're always trying to push out, then we are moving out to the point that we had 7th of October. And we're not willing to do this anymore. We cannot be on the defense anymore. We need to make sure that our children are safe. And above all values, I want my children to be safe. Anybody does. And if I choose a beautiful, democratic, perfect world, or my children not be massacred and raped, then I'll give up any beautiful value for life. So that's the vibe. There's a fear that the democratic world and the European Western values, looking at both sides and two-state solution, which most Israelis do not believe exists anymore, is actually endangering our existence. So that's why we rather take a crazy, unexpected, narrow-minded, one-sided kind of guy than take the liberal world perception. Okay? I try to answer kind of wide.
So what you really see is the end game. In other words, there's a lot of anger that's going to be among those Arabs who survive. And I'm sorry. What's the end game? What is the Israeli sees the end game? I'm not, I don't have an answer myself, but there's a lot of animosity that's being bred. The kids are growing up with hatred, and so how do you get to security? What is the current vision in Israel?
So I will just say that if Yuval really had the answer, he would not be speaking here right now, and he would be on the front cover of the Time magazine.
It's not always the right people who get the leadership, but I'll give you my answer. It's the Jewish answer. We don't know what the answer is. We have questions, okay? But it's much more of an American attitude. The question is an American question. What's the end game? Assuming there is 3 steps we need to do to solve it. The American attitude is very solutionism and nowism. We had in my lifetime, I've seen a whole bunch of American messengers coming, landing in Israel and says, I'm not living until we're solving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Oh, come on. Hey, we're not waiting. I used to be an optimist, and now I'm a pessimist. They say pessimist is an optimist with experience. Okay, I've been there when Rabin was assassinated. I've voted left all my life. I grew up doing meditation to save the world. I was hoping to have a better world. If a better world would come, I'll be very, very happy, but I'm tired of being disappointed. So right now, I want to keep my children safe for the next 10 years. It's not my responsibility to make sure that the other side is happy. I want to make sure that my children's alive. If they want to take a step and find a better future for themselves, that'll be awesome. I'm not expecting them to do that. And I'm also answering another question of the human crisis and the genocide and all of that. And I want to answer it on a wider level. I don't want them to suffer for a second. I don't want any of them to suffer. It's horrible what's happening to them. How many of them should suffer or die for my children to be safe? What's the right number for my children to be safe? You tell me the number. So there's 30,000 now of them died. Half of them are terrorists. Maybe there's 40,000. Let's debate about. Would you ask me if 300,000 is a right number for my children to be alive? Would you choose that to save your children? Do I have an option? Most Palestinians support Hamas in Gaza, in the West Bank. And Hamas is dedicated to the destruction of Israel by means of force. It's from the bottom up. It's the people. It's not a terror organization that took over the people. It's the people. When they'll give up and my children could be safe, then I can stop. I hate that this is what I'm doing, but I want my children to be safe. The bottom line of any discussion is, what would you give up your children's safety for any value? And I don't think anyone would say yes. So, what is the solution? I don't know what is the solution. My children will fight. My father promised me when he founded meditation, my father tried to save the world with transcendental meditation since I'm a child, and until now, he's meditating 8 hours a day with thousands of people in a big dome in Iowa, Fairfield. And my father promised me when I was a child that when I will be 18, I will not have to go to the army. I was promised that by my dad. I'm not going to promise that to my children. Well, they're going to the army soon, and I'm not expecting that would happen to my grandchildren. Yet, it's safer to be in Israel than to be here. That's a fact.
Any more questions, rebuttals, comments? Rabbi.
Thank you. Thank you first to Yuval. Having you here in our community for your two visits has just been so great for us. So I really am so grateful to see you again and for the relationship which you really have established here with Southbury. And Rabbi Resnick, Rabbi Paul, huge thank you to Federation. This has been a great event. A number of us, but I can just speak personally, been a lot of events over a lot of years. The idea of doing what you've done, which is, and you've done, which is to use music the way it should be used, to hopefully pieces of it to inspire, but to explain. And Yuval, as Yuval has talked about, his personal experience to also see the human Israeli experience through music today and to hear it has just been fantastic. So true thanks to Federation and to your leadership. So, toda.
Awesome. So then we're taking a break, right? This is what's happening?
That was not a plan, by the way. Any last words? So let me just ask you, should we end here, and people who want to hang out with Yuval, great. People who want to go next door, great. Should we sing Hatikva together? Both. Okay, so if someone wants to come up and help lead Hatikva with me, that would be great. If you can all rise, that would be great too. I didn't want to put Linda on the spot, but she smiled back at me when I stared at her, so. No.
It's like the Godfather. Whenever she thinks she's out, she's actually.
She's taking over.
Thank you, everybody. So there's food and lunch next door.
I'm saying, if anybody want to talk about anything, I'm Oh, hello, hello. If any of you want to download the words, there'll be a code on the screen in a second. And it also leads to my website if you want to leave your details there and join my newsletter. You're welcome to join the club.